Eric, I know that doesn't count on anybody's record, but Mac Painter was saying it felt like a Big Ten road game. What did it feel like to you, and how big a win is it, even though it doesn't technically count?
Well, I think a couple things. One, I mean, the turnout, the crowd, mid-season form, the crowd was. To think that our season ticket holders were not involved and we still sold the building out and it's for a great cause. So that's awesome to be able to contribute to a cause and we sold a lot of tickets. So that's awesome. I think Coach Painter's right. It was a crowd that certainly will help Purdue. It gave all of our new guys a taste of what it's going to be like in our building. So that's a great thing. I thought both teams treated the game like a mid-season game. It felt like an NCAA tournament vibe, to be honest. I'm really proud of our team because we have so many new faces. We're trying to figure out go-to sets. We're trying to figure out who's going to have the ball in their hands. We're playing against a team that's so well coached and is very physical and very tough and has a unique player, a star player, potential national player of the year. And I thought that in the first half they executed the game plan as good as they possibly could, meaning our guys. And much like, with Chet Holmgren, I thought we did a good job of putting pressure on the rim, although they altered shots and stuff, of trying to foul people out too. But that Purdue team has the talent, the coaching to win a national championship. They do. And obviously, we had a home court advantage tonight. But really, for this early in the season, really happy with how they kind of fell into some roles and guys off the bench contributed and defensive pressure was really good with forcing 20 turnovers and 14 steals against a team that plays in a conference where valuing the ball is really important. The 7 blocks, really impressive against a Power 5, really tall team that's got incredible length. And obviously T. Mark hit a huge shot on our 15 fist out red on the wing. And T. Mark and Devo both played a little bit of point guard and had 4 assists and L's contribution at that position as well. And we got to clean up our turnovers and some of our shot selection.
Most of your teams that were back-to-back Elite Eight were so good at closing out games and just being better in tight games, last 3, 4, 5 possessions. Were you surprised against a team that good that your guys were just tougher and made more plays? Even when that overtime started a little bit slow and some bad possessions early, you stuck with some of the same guys and they got it done. Yeah,
I thought that we work on special situations so much. Some teams in the summer just do skill. They do 4-man skill, a lot of programs, and we utilize our time where we actually practice and work on, we have a thing that we took from the Dallas Cowboys called mojo moments, where we play some music that goes along with that movie, and we yell out a situation, and then our guys have to execute. So, but we got a lot of holes still. Certainly, we had some empty possessions that we want to try to get better.
Speaking of the past, you've had 1, 2, sometimes 3 guys that maybe could close. You brought a guy in late after Devo got hurt that helped you close in overtime at Ellis. Do you feel like you have maybe a spool of riches and guys that can go get it done, even in clutch situations, maybe because they're veterans and have been around?
Well, I think, Kevin, that, like when the play breaks down or when you're in a one-on-one situation, like, can you beat your man to draw extra defenders? And, Devo has that ability. T. Mark has that ability. L. Ellis has that ability. I thought Layden Blocker played his minutes great tonight. Battle is a guy that we ran our one-up play and isolated him, and he took a three. It hit the back of the rim, but it was straight on and was a good look for him. Again, we're much evolving, but I didn't know what to, quite frankly, I didn't know what to expect coming into the game. So, we get back to it on Monday and try to get better.
Coach, could you talk a little bit more about some of the things you guys were doing to maybe disrupt Edey or keep him out of a rhythm, and then just the individual job of Chandler Lawson on him today?
Yeah, I think I talked about it. We used basically the same rules that we did with Shaquille O'Neal, where we tried to pressure the ball. I thought that, the high-low pass, we got a lot of deflections. Brazil had at least 3, and so we tried to smother the ball. And then the other 3 guys that did not guard Edey, we tried to play a yo-yo game where you're in and out and you're stunt bluffing. And I was pretty surprised that the way that we executed it with only having we had a long prep obviously, but I was impressed with how our guys they made him work for every possession, and there was no clean entry passes, which was what we wanted. And I thought our weak side tags were really good. We had a couple steals from the weak side on their lob pass, and he's the hardest player in the country to guard a lob pass. I thought we did a good job crab walking him as well, the guy that was guarding him. So a lot of positive things for sure guarding a team that's got lethal shooters, good passers, and 5 starters back.
Coach, with Chandler Lawson, he was kind of a late ad for y'all. Has it surprised you at all what he's brought to the team, or has it been about what you expected?
No, it's when we did the research, first of all, his coachability is off the charts. He's as coachable as any player I've ever coached. He really wants to please. He's a great talker in practice, meaning he echoed play calls. He's talking on defense. He's in the right position. And then you look at the number of games that he has from an experience standpoint of starting, and I thought he was phenomenal defensively. The block shots and he hit a big shot early in the game when we were kind of, what's going to happen with us offensively. And he's a great teammate, and he's like I mentioned, he's really great for the coaching staff. They all love when he comes to their drill. They love coaching him. He's got a real positive, upbeat vibe to him.
I think Purdue finished plus 14 on the boards, but in the overtime period, I thought y'all came down with some really tough rebounds. Just what did you make of how y'all were able to do that in the overtime period?
It was pretty. In the huddle, it was like, hey, we just go back in the locker room now if we're not going to rebound. We're not going to win the game, and it might not even be close if we don't start rebounding in traffic. Because I thought too many balls were bouncing off our hands, and our guards, I thought, did a good job folding back and rebounding. TB went above everybody on a possession to grab a defensive rebound, and we got to get better rebounding the ball. And Alcorn State's got a player that's phenomenal offensive rebounder, so that'll be a lot of our emphasis heading into Alcorn is keeping one of the premier offensive rebounders off the glass.
Where did Caleb give you maybe his best minutes? Was it on the glass? Was it defensively? Where did you see him maybe get the most?
Well, he gets a shot off so quick, and the opposition's got to stay attached to him. Obviously, his numbers last year dictate that people are going to have to guard him. They're going to have to stay close to him. He's an explosive scorer. He gets the ball out of his hands really, really quickly. But I thought defensively and defensive rebounding, really happy with what he did tonight. Double box outs. That was part of the game plan is if you're guarding a guy that's a non-offensive rebounder, you have got to go double box out, which means pinching a good offensive rebounder, and I thought he did a great job of that. What's that?
Have we asked you about Trevor yet?
I don't think so. He was only as good as anybody in the building tonight. He was awesome. He came to me 3 times that I can remember and said, "Coach, can I get 30 seconds?" And it was a pretty simple answer, no. So, but he did, after 1-0, he did come back, but he's got, look, this was great for him. Physically, the injury, he's healed. He's got total medical clearance. I wish he would have played a couple minutes in the red and white game, but we wanted to, get another week into his, rehab, so to speak. And this was great for him because it was a physical game. It was a game you're getting bumped and dislodged, and he hung in there and played great and stretched the defense out. And, his shot selection from 3, the 4 that he took, I thought were all really good shots. He didn't force anything. And he opened up the floor for dribble drives. We went to that 15 fist up, lift 4 with him lifted, and he was, they had to stay attached to him.
When you talked to us earlier this week, you talked about the challenges that Kaufman ran and Edey playing together. It didn't happen as much as we thought it would, but you were able to hold both of them fairly well. Just what were some of the challenges, and did it play out the way you thought it would?
Yeah, those guys, both those guys, if you give them an angle to score, you cannot win. And so it's a matter of kind of sandwiching them. And when they catch the ball, you got to have aggressive, committed digs. And then you've got to get back to a three-point shooter. So we talked about having multiple defensive efforts. It can't just be, hey, I'm putting effort on a dig, and, oh, by the way, I got to get back out to a three-point shooter. So I thought that our contests were really good. And I thought we did a good job of kind of sandwiching those guys with different help guys, because we mixed it up, who kind of came down there on committed digs and tried to do it with different people. At one point it was Devo. At one point it was T. Mark. Battle was designated digger a couple times. So, but those guys are, this is, Purdue is phenomenal.
Tremont earlier here said that he wants the ball in those kind of end games.
So do about 8 other guys.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. How do you guys kind of work on who gets the ball in those end of situations, and what has kind of separated him maybe in this game, at least game 1, he was able to kind of come through and do that for you?
Yeah, with his size, he's got the ability to rise over a defender. And so because of that, that was the reason that we put the ball in his hand as a pick and roll player. He got a lot of opportunities to handle in pick and roll, as did Devo, as did L. Ellis. And so we have 3 guys that can really play with the ball in their hands in pick and rolls. And then it puts a little bit of pressure on the defense, not knowing if the small forward, meaning T. Mark's going to handle it, or the point guard's going to handle it. Because there's different coverages when different people are involved. So if you're 1, 2, and 3 can all play in a pick and roll package, I think that it puts a little bit more pressure, puts a little more dilemmas on different people. And then obviously with Brazil's setting and his ability to pick and pop, and then Chandler's proven that he can be a pick and pop player. And even Kai, his shot was good. It was a corner 3, and they had sagged off him. And we feel like if Kai's open, that we want him to be able to try to keep the defense honest as well.
Just real quick, everything good with Devo?
Yep. I think he'll be fine. Yeah.
Much, you've talked a lot about wanting to get in transition and run this year. Purdue often dictated tempo, especially the first half, but you guys had your moments. What was the good you saw in your transition game, and what were some things that they did well and maybe that y'all just didn't capitalize on?
Well, they do a great job of sending 2 guys back. Smith and Lawyer are kind of non-offensive rebounders, so those guys tend to get back defensively, and then Smith, I think, is a really, really good on-ball pressure guy, so he'll get back and then come back and try to slow the ball down. But I don't have the stats in front of me, but there's probably not a lot of people that are going to score 81 points against Purdue, just plain and simple. Happy with the pace we played in overtime. We talked about our conditioning, and that this is why we work so hard in the summer, to be able to exert a lot of energy in an overtime game. And I thought that we did that. Probably the first half, Kevin's probably the half that, we want our primary ball handlers to not walk the ball up. So we can get better at that for sure.
One quick follow-up, I handed the mic away, but on Mark's three, I don't know if you were asked this and I just missed it. What was the game plan there, for him to read it and do what felt right to get it to overtime? Or are y'all looking with that much clock left to maybe get to the basket and try to play a longer game and stretch the game out?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we would have simply just been trying to get to the cup and draw an FTA, which is a lot of times my nature, but for whatever reason, we ran on the weak side to come off for a three. So I think when we talked about that, I think, T. Mark thought like, all right, coach is fine with us taking a three because the first option was a weak side three ball. Much like a couple years ago when Mason took a three against Georgia Tech. I mean, sometimes you just feel like, there was enough time for sure, though, Kevin, to try to get a quick two, get a stop or foul, and then see what happens. So, but again, his ability to rise up is just, it's unique.
How close was Graham to being available for you today?
Not close. Been, just on the side and no timetable for a return. Back spasms and have no idea if he'll be ready for the first game or the fifth game. He's been pretty inactive, so we'll just have to wait and see and continue to have our trainers and doctors try to get the back to be a little bit looser, more freedom of movement in the back.
Is Devo a concussion protocol?
No, not to my knowledge.
I guess he was probably giving away about 150 pounds to Edey there when they were colliding. What do you think, from your view of the bench, just what do you think of that?
Just two teams that wanted to win. I mean, you don't have that effort I think there was three guys in a pile. And they're like a really physical team, but a really cool team, meaning like there was nothing dirty the whole game. It was clean, hard-nosed basketball, and you can tell they got high quality guys. Like those guys were all in a heap and like the professionalism of the Purdue guys, like nobody was talking to each, it was like, hey, Coach Painter came over, he was checking on Devo, I was trying to help up Zach Edey. I mean, it was just like what a incredible performance by both teams for our crowd. Like who gets to watch that in October? It just doesn't happen. Like that game was incredible for anybody that got to witness it. It really was. I mean, it was almost as good as any game I participated in. It's an exhibition game.
I think Tremont had missed, like, he was 1 for 5 from the line. He missed those two to start the overtime. But then he comes back and scores 5 in a row to get you the lead. I guess, what does that say about his maturity, mental toughness, whatever you want to call it, that he, bounces back like that?
Zero thought of not letting him continue to have the ball in his hands. There was no thought of, hey, let's hide him in the corner. He's missed some free throws. It was like, I'm riding with him. I trust his mental toughness. It's no different than JD Note a couple years. He missed 10 shots. I'm riding. So, like, you have to have your team believe that you believe in him, even during stretches of struggles. And obviously he struggled from the line early, and we still put it even. I don't know. Game was kind of in hand, and we still put it in his hands to get fouled.
Final question, Jackson. The sold-out tonight, the environment, everything, do you sense there might be just a little bit added juice from the Razorback faithful this year in the offseason right now with all the high hopes that you guys have?
20,000 people before Halloween. I don't know many places that can do that. I really don't. I mean, yeah, I think there's a lot of anticipation. And the good thing is anybody that was here got entertained. Woo pig suey.
Eric, does that make you 3-0 against the number 1 seed?
No.